The Red Tsar's crusade into the hated Chaos Wastes was making steady progress. A whole province had been liberated, and the thankful populace had joined with Kislev's blood in repairing and rebuilding ruined settlements, blessing them with new names to dispel the creeping corruption that clung to these forsaken lands. The Shard Blade was beginning to show signs that its dormant power was reawakening at long last. Carved from Norscan glaciers, it's said to hold a permanent hoarfrost about its form that can cut flesh and bone better than elven steel. The Shard Blade is a deadly polearm wielded by the Red Tsar. It was recovered along with Boris's body after the Battle of River Linsk. However, the Shard Blade's latent power seems to have been laid dormant by his initial death. The Patriarchs of the Great Orthodoxy have studied the weapon, and declared that its might will return once Radi Boka has regained the power, influence, and love of his people that he had before his fateful fall. And so the Tsar set forth to crush the remaining raiders left over from the Cornate cult that had infested this province. And the last of the Blood God's followers were slain. The Shard Blade was once again awoken, its icy might primed to destroy the many foes of Kislev. A new patriarch has made his way through the northern oblast to join our ranks. Alexei Ovechkin. Once a quiet young man, unsure of where his path will lead and next meal will come. His fate would forever change when he was forced to prove himself a leader in the harsh way of the tundra. One day without warning, a horde of goblins swarmed over the hills to raid his small village. Houses burned and townsfolk were butchered as they ran. All seemed lost until Alexei was able to organize and rally the surviving town's watch and villagers into a counterattack that drove the goblins from the town never to return. It would take the hamlet decades to recover from the loss, and Alexei's own mother, father, and younger brother Todomir were among those slain by the Green Tide. This loss would not break him, and he soon left his village to join the Great Orthodoxy and train to become a patriarch. His passion and will ensured a quick rise, and in short time his keen eye for strategy and ability to rally his fellow countrymen led him eventually into Boris's service as his newest patriarch and trusted leader of the front line. He would be joining our Lord Admiral of Borodin's party in a mission to scout the territory to the direct south of our borders. As our armies march, word reaches us from the Ice Court that a young witch initiate has been pre-assigned to join Boris's crusade upon completion of her training. Her magics would be sorely needed to drive into the wastes, and the Kossars were already boasting that each of them would win her favor in battle. They would not be so brave when she arrived. Veterans among them knew better than to joke about the Ice Court. The few who had seen them on and off the battlefield knew how dangerous the Queen's witches could be to friend and foe alike that irked them. The Everchosen of Chaos, Archaon, has taken notice of our burgeoning resistance to his master's rule. As he continues to gather the gifts of the Dark Gods, Archaon sends one of his sorcerer lords to crush our armies and bring these lands back under the grip of chaos. Lord Admiral Borodin would be the first to engage this new threat in the frigid north.
Death is like the winter chill. No door can keep it from us. And summer yet may bloom again, though ice be all upon us. You must face these demons.
And it is time for our Lord Admiral's first true test. Against a fairly large war host of a mix of Kurgan and Marauders. We'll swing on in here. The enemy Lord is going to be throwing out magic as fast as he can, so I'll try to make sure we catch all of it. He is a spell slinger if I ever saw one. So we've got the normal Marauders that are looking quite nice. The Kurgan with their extra fancy capes. These capes are surely made up of all sort of unsightly and unseemly things. You've got some Great Axe variants, and then I guess they got the normal Marauder Spearmen, which we will see with the Tzinch variant, but don't exist for normal Marauders. For some strange reason. I could see them being implemented at some point, but maybe they want Tzinch to have that by themselves. And these are the dual axe variant as well. They're all going to be quite nasty, kind of a second tier infantry. They are going to outclass most of what we are wielding, or what we are fielding rather, in a straight up engagement. So we're going to want to be very careful and use our missiles as much as we can. Borden is going to be focused entirely on the mage if we can help it. As soon as he gets into range, we'll want to get all of those armor piercing shots right in. And we want to make sure our Patriarch stays safe. Since he is not very heavily armored, he is going to struggle quite a bit while fighting against the Kurgan, but we're going to want to use him to soak up a lot of the damage that would be going elsewhere. Spells flying out at a rapid rate for our enemy as the arrows are flying away for us as well. Blinking harmlessly against shields in some cases. The Wrath of Winter going down, slowing the enemy and dropping leadership. That doesn't matter so much, but slowing them down and dropping their overall vigor is going to be quite amazing. We've got our Axemen moving in as a flanking force, so they're going to be charging in. We've got 3 of them rolling around. We're going to have this group fully envelop the team and get as much damage as possible. Looks like a Plague of Rust is dropping for our Axemen there, so they're going to lose the little bit of armor they do currently have. As the arrows continue to plink away at the shields, they're doing a good job blocking. But blood stains are starting to stain the waist there. Not an uncommon sight. Their mage is just casting as many spells as possible. Very tough to keep track of what all is going on, so I'm getting hit with things left and right. Got some more metal magic blasting apart the lads. Coating them in metal, and the unfortunate survivors probably have Iron Foot. But arrows are flying away. We have routed the hounds on one side, which is kind of to be expected. And now the axes are going to be getting into work on those spearmen. As the Kurgan surge forward into our front line as well. Our axemen should make quick work, especially since we have broken straight through the line. We have lads basically splitting their line down the middle. They should break pretty quickly after that. You have a unit firing out of the sides if you're able to move your troops. You're better at micro than I. You can get them in to fire in behind where they are unarmored with the lowest chance to hit, or I guess ward off that missile shot. Shooting over the heads of allies isn't quite as effective. More metal magic blasting apart the lads in the back line, but our Patriarch is surrounded by a pile of corpses and continuing to bash away. Our Lord is under attack. That's because we charged him on in. Cleaving heads with his gun axe. Them combined should easily make quick work of these two. And while they're not focused on them, or their shields are not turned, the arrows can hit and do maximum damage. Those normal Marauders do have a good deal of melee defense though with those shields, so we're taking a moment to get through them. They're starting to break though across the line. And as those white flags go up, the other Marauders will see that and turn tail and run in turn. Sorcerer is going for a jog. Getting a quick bop by the Patriarch there, but you can see the stature difference. Patriarch needs some backup if he's going to survive this battle. He's definitely got it. Got some more leadership debuffs going down. Dead litter the battle lines on both sides. We do outnumber them and have the benefit of missiles. More metal magic coming down to blast apart our poor unfortunate Kossars. You just wait till we have magic of our own. And till we have more Warbear Riders. Things won't be going quite as easily for you. We've taken some pretty massive casualties, but as soon as their lord falls, the rest of these Chaos Dogs should turn and run pretty quickly. They've got their dual axes charging on in, clashing with our own, and winning that clash. But they're gonna get those axes blending through. Kurgan are already weakened, taking the point-blank shot. Bullets don't care about armor, and he already knows. Metal Magic also doesn't care about armor, though. As soon as every time he breaks contact with our Lord Admiral there, he's getting filled with arrows. And it looks like he is going to break and run, casting one final spell. Out of spite, of course, blasting a giant hole in our line. But this unfortunate horde of Kurgan has fallen. Taking some casualties. That man came in there with a haymaker. But we are victorious. And in our first clash with Archaon, we managed to slaughter them. We only lost 271. All brave sons of Kislev. But they died with honor, and they died to bring down a massive war host of the Apocalypse. Fair enough. We will go ahead and do the Solyak Provides to get as much replenishment as possible. These others are very nice. We've got very high devotion, so we can pretty much use that on whatever we want. And the Execute Captives does not give us enough experience where I am going to go for that one. So I'm going to go for Solyak Provides, just in case Archaon is close by as well.
Fetch my lash.
Moradin drives his soldiers onward. There was no time to rest and replenish his regiments with fresh troops. They had broken one army of chaos already with few casualties. They needed to push their momentum towards the next settlement, known as the Monolith of Bubonicus. The soldiers marched in grim silence, and gone was the jovial tone from before they left the newly dubbed Oxgorod. As the shock of seeing men around you ripped apart by creatures normally consigned to nightmares had dulled the spirit of their victory considerably. Their mission was nowhere near complete, and they would endure much worse to come. And to prepare for the coming battle, we are going to pass out our 4 earned skill points here to Boradin, the Lord Admiral. Since he is already below half hit points before the battle begins, we are going to go for Heroic Resilience, which is going to additionally give him 15 melee defense and 5 leadership, as long as he is below 50% health. We'll grab that. We'll also swing on down to Iron Discipline. I'm going to grab both Iron Discipline and Hard to Hit. I'm going to ignore the gold line just for now. He's got some really good ones in here, up to Deadeyes, which is going to give everyone around him more missile strength. But for this first battle here, I think we're going to want to buff up the soldiers. So we have lots of Kossars and Woodsmen. So since this is kind of what we're going to be rolling with for the beginning, I'm going to upgrade these units here. And then we may give him a secondary one later on, but he is primarily going to be rolling with kind of your baseline Kossars and infantry for now. We may add in the respec mod later on if we want to switch that up once we get a bit more upgraded. For Alexi, our Patriarch, we also want to try to make sure he is as potent as can be for the upcoming battle. 5% more weapon strength is really not all that much, gives him 20 more. Ursun's Roar is something we want to grab so that the cooldown is reduced, and I think we already have one with Salyak's Lullaby. Well, this is pretty much my favorite one to grab. I think we will go for Tor's Battle Hymn. The cooldown on it is just as long as all the others, sadly, but we will have one with this is a bit more for beating the brakes off our enemies instead of just healing up our warbears and such. So we'll grab Tor's Battle Hymn here and prepare for the fight. First, though, we'll swing on into the Motherland. It did wear off in between episodes, so we have 301 devotion to work with, as well as the Mother Earth event going on right now, so we have a 30% reduction to that cost there. So let's go ahead and grab Ursun yet again, since we are going to plan on claiming many towns here, and this is going to additionally allow us to drop leadership and speed for all of our enemies. Get this going. Once things are a bit more secure, we can start going for Tor and the other boons, but for now, it is Ursun, Moradin. Let's bring down this Monolith. Gonna give us a decisive victory, and we would lose absolutely nobody. Well, we have made this such a to-do. Let's go ahead and charge out on the battlefield and meet this last small army here. Going forward, if it's going to give us a decisive victory and lose nobody, we will give it to the auto-resolve depending on the situation going around. For this one, since I know Archaon could be nearby, we do want to be a bit cautious and try to minimize our casualties as much as we can, so I have seen no issue fighting this one. Crom, are you going to be out on the battlefield itself? Yes, we can definitely get them caught between this choke point and ruin them. Either one, honestly, is a bad time for Chaos. Let the battle begin. And now we work to slay their replacement wizard and claim this town. Looking at their overall setup, they're just kind of haphazardly strewn around this monument there. Their ally will be showing up in a minute 42 with his demon spawn, which are going to be quite nasty. We have kind of deployed in an interesting formation just to try to scout out their units and see exactly what they are going to try. Looks like the Warhounds are going to be leading the charge. Since they have the most speed there, you're usually able to kind of lure their speedy units into a incredibly inadvantageous position for them. Looks like they're going to be going right after our softest targets, being our woodsmen. They can actually do maximum damage to our woodsmen, seeing as they are just kind of a normal infantry unit that doesn't have a lot of armor. The incredibly high melee attack and decent weapon strength of those hounds is going to do really good work. But the first volley is out. And we have slowed the enemy lord as well, so we should be having all arrows focus firing in. This is the worst charge ever. Many are falling. Looks like the health has been taken almost down to 0 in just a couple moments there, and they are going to be turning and running pretty quick. Their hounds have been engaged by the dual axes, but that is 2 hound groups, so we want to be very, very careful and bring in some reinforcements quick. The hounds will die fast, but so will our infantry. The Jav Cav is also charging on in to make their presence felt. Probably the absolute worst thing they can do with these guys. They need to be staying back and using their ammunition before they rush on in. Axes flying away to bury themselves in our skulls. But their lord is already broken, which is a pretty sizable leadership hit already. More axes going away. Throwing axemen always deal good damage. They're not as useful when throwing into targets like our woodsmen and such that aren't very heavily armored, but they're going to be trying to, I guess, charge into our archers and stop them from firing. Not exactly sure what the play is here. Oh, they wanted a bit of a better target there. Several sons of Kislev fall to the hail of axes. See off a few more warriors on the other side. The replacement wizard Crom is on in. Apparently he's eager to rush to his death. Happy to see it. Got a couple of our own forces a bit overextended. We're going to want to pull them back. Even though the enemy force is not all that intimidating, we don't want to give them free kills. Although with the Warhounds caught, we pretty much just want to turn and fight. Running away from them is a good way to just give these guys free kills on our own soldiers. We've used our slow once more, and now everyone is rushing to finish off the now frostbitten enemy. Shatter them with axes. Seems to be working out. Low leadership, low vigor, and full of arrows. Hard to fight when your thigh is pinned to the ground. That unit is almost immediately obliterated. We are just waiting for the enemy sorcerer to show up, and he's going to definitely make his presence felt. He will be dropping hot magma all over the Kossars, whether they want it or not. We'll point-blank volley into the hounds. Get some good old target practice for the Kossars. But we will get them rotating on in to prepare for the charge of the Demon Spew. Anything that is Forsaken related is glass cannon and can be nasty. They can blend through infantry lines really quickly if left unattended. Battle spells crashing on into our more or less clumped up line, doing less damage than they would probably like. We love to see it. Some armor has been dropped. Those poor woodsmen there are about to get absolutely destroyed. Demon Spew versus Hardened Son of Kislev. This guy's got an extra horn sticking out. Oh, we got some more metal spells dropping on down as Kislevites bleed all over the floor. Run, brothers. It's probably too late, but you can try. Go ahead and speed things back on up. The metal will blast on down and annihilate some more spearmen. That one group of infantry is almost already dead in a heartbeat. We need to get over and eliminate this lord quickly, so we've dropped down the spell. I've missed cast it. Actually, I was trying to click on the middle of this and it just dropped it way up here, so I completely wasted an army ability. Miscasts do happen though, so just gotta keep fighting through it. We do have vast numerical advantage, but that would have just kept a few more Kislevites from dying in combat. You can just see the amount of damage they deal back. They take all of it in return, but they've got some pretty heavy armor. They're of Nurgle, so they're going to be doing a bit of regenerating, and got a lot of melee defense for being of Nurgle, but melee attack back. Nasty. The Demon Spew has fallen, though. They've dealt their toll for sure. Area around them is littered with bodies. Alexei needs to pull on away, though. He is doing battle with someone who is superior in dueling strength, but he just bopped aside this Kislevite. He did not pray to Ursun, and he remembered it. His last offerings were pitiful. But the enemies flee for their lives. We are going to be making them pincushions, but that's the battle. We took a few losses there to Nurgle's Forsaken, but we managed to claim ourselves a decisive victory. We gained 16 devotion just from the win, 2,000 to our treasury, and 2,000 experience points for our boy. Then we claimed ourselves a potion of strength. Killing their wizard is always something you want to do if you want to try to force the AI to spend more gold. If that's not something you're up into, then don't worry about it. Let them escape and you can hunt down that army again. But I like to force the AI to spend another 1,000 on another lord and deal with it. Go ahead and occupy the Monolith of Bubonicus, and we'll have to get this thing renamed up.
My lands expand further.
They do indeed. And now that we are in friendly territory, he will be gaining 5 melee defense for his entire army, so that's going to be very important, since we know for sure that the Everchosen is, I'm not exactly sure where, but he's down in this area somewhere. He did just claim the Stormvrak, and things are still exploding down here in the south, so he is still rampaging around and doing his thing. But we want to prepare as much as we can.
Boyar of Kislev.
For our Boyar, I think we want to max out all hands on deck, getting our Kislevites and Woodsmen as potent as he can possibly make them. And then Alexei will max out Tor's Battle Hymn and start working on the replenishment of troops. This will drop the cooldown to it, so it's down to 67 seconds instead of the full 90, which is going to be amazing. We're going to have ourselves almost a Khorne battle roar every 67 seconds. Potion of Strength is on the other lad there. I think I'm going to switch it over to Alexei. Since he is going to be in combat a bit more, we want to make sure this gigantic mace is crushing a bit harder than normal. Here at the Monolith, we do have to worry about dealing with a couple of chaotic forces here, so let's go ahead and put in maybe the Orthodoxy Shrine right off the bat there, just to help with control and corruption. Growth is important. The Hallow Wood is also pretty nice because it does help with corruption as well. It just this doesn't help with anything other than that. It would assist with replenishment rate though. So you know what? Hallowed Wood, our first one here at the Monolith. That will probably go in naming of the town as well. Your homeland fares, we'll see soon. It seems like Kislev is struggling. Hopefully we can crush the Chaos forces in the north and get it back over to help before they are wiped out for good. And the turn is again ours. Time to spend some gold and get to upgrading our settlements. The Citadel of the Bear is where we want to concentrate our efforts. I think we definitely want some breastworks in just for the Chaos factions that are up north here. Daniel's up further to the north, and clearly some nonsense going on down there. We have to deal with the Tzeentchian faction as well. We'll probably go ahead and throw in, additionally, the Market Square to start increasing our overall income. It is starting to take a bit of a hit just due to the fact that we have a lot of armies running around now. I think I also want to grab the stud farm. Gives us a bit more growth and income as well, and drops the recruitment cost of anyone in this region. Excuse me, Bak-Bak. Trespassing being done by the Skaven, and you know what? We shall deal with it. Go ahead and charge on out. He is in march stance. I think he's probably trying to move across to get to either running away from someone else or getting to his war target. Either way, he is going to die horribly out in the snows. Before we do, we'll grab Alexi's abilities. I think I want to grab the Cleanse Corruption just so we have an additional point of that, and then we will grab his Icon of Strength. Taking up to 420 weapon strength. Alright then, the battle. We will definitely declare war, no reason to wait to tell them they're trespassing. We get a quest for this.
Cut them down.
Gold for the killing. Gonna give us a Pyrrhic victory for slaughtering Bak-Bak the Unlethal here. Bak-Bak is a sword infantry. He has an assassin, which is going to be a bit of a problem. And then these two Poison Wind Globadiers are going to be the main source of our ire because they will do insane damage otherwise. So they've also got the Poisoned Wind effect on them. At least it's showing it now, as opposed to normally when it just shows it as a bonus V large and armor piercing. Yep, Poison Wind Globes are nasty. Take a look at the terrain, and then we'll start this battle off. We've fought here many times before, Clan Ferric. It is your doom. Lord Admiral's had his work cut out for him this episode. We have a pretty massive war host of Clan Ferric. Obviously, they have offended Ursun, otherwise we would not have had a mission to declare war on them. We can kind of zoom on in. This is Clan Ferric's got one of the cooler armor schemes for the Skaven, in my opinion. If you've played Destiny at all, it is the colors they keep trying to push for the Vanguard every single season since year 1 of Destiny 1. But they still look quite awesome in the Skaven. It's a very different color scheme for them. Fluorescent orange. The deadliest units by far being not these Night Runners. Those are scary in their own right, but these Poison Wind Globes. They can obliterate an entire infantry line, especially of lightly armored infantry, in almost no time flat. We want to be very aware of where these are at all times, and we actually cannot see their entire army. The only groups that we can see is these first groups of spearmen and swordsmen right now, so we are trying to move up kind of cautiously and figure out where the enemy is. We are spread very wide. That way no one is really in combat without being shot with arrows. Get this thing going. Hardened sons of Kislev, there will be many rats to slay. The assassin is sprinting on forward. He has got some hate in his eyes. Look at him move. We have now uncovered him, though. So arrows will start flying. A couple of them sticking right into his back. That's unfortunate. He's going to continue to sprint straight ahead, though. We have all sorts of anti-infantry soldiers to engage, so they're going to sprint on over and try to get him bogged down. I'm not really sure what his plan is, but he's got some intent.
We must endure their charge.
Getting filled with arrows, and now he's being sliced apart by axes. Seemingly throwing their assassin away to die. Clearly he had a rival that needed to see him gone. We've got our Patriarch running over to assist. We want to be careful with him, though, because the assassin is very good at dueling heroes and characters. So we'll see, he had one hit. Does a huge chunk of damage to Alexi there. Alexi's brave, but that assassin is pretty deadly. We are lucky he is broken, and now the arrows can start flying away at the individual clan rats. We can kind of slow things. Oh, these guys are still far enough away, we're not going to actually shoot them, so no need for slow-mo. We'll get back to it. They are inadvisably removing the shields from in front of them so the arrows can hit them. I guess immunity to arrows, you can get it through natural means by getting shot many times. Your skin gets harder naturally. Fire. Those little triangular shields, though, warding off a good deal of our arrow fire. As the Skaven hordes pour over the mountainside. What an awesome image. But the lads pulling back. We do need to turn them around, though, because otherwise they're going to get rear charged by a whole heap of Skaven. Pull it on up. And not me to speed things to maximum. Well, that's unfortunate. Let's get this battle continued. I'm going to slow things down then, so that since we missed a good chunk of it, they have now fully engaged in combat, so Kossars are ripping through. I guess these are woodsmen, but they're Kossars. Just not been given bows. And more muscle milk. I also really like their hats. They are ripping their way through these Skaven lines, though. The Skaven are not going to stand much chance at all against the armor-piercing and anti-infantry. Skaven are lightly armored, but any armor they do have is going to be fully ignored. Or Skaven slaves. They're real angry, and they do have pokey sharp bits that I'm sure are covered in all sorts of sewer scrapings. Don't want to get poked by anything the Skaven have. Giggity. A bunch of clan rats are surrounding our Lord Admiral, who should fare just fine. And a group of woodsmen is holding off 3 units of Skaven simultaneously. I guess the Poison Wing Globes are still hanging out way in the back here. They've got a whole bunch of units in reserve for some reason. I'm not sure why we're not being swarmed all at once. It seems like that would be a far superior strategy. But we'll continue to chop away. Another lovely image of the battle. Some of Ursun's wrath dropping. Skaven are going to have a really hard time against any leadership lowering effects, so you're going to want to abuse them as much as you can against your blobbed up enemy Skaven. As one group runs, it usually spreads that to all of the others around them pretty quickly. As we pull this off here, I'm sure many of these are going to be running and they're not even really very much damaged. If they retreat, I think it is 3 or 4 times, I don't know the exact number, they will no longer come back. Alexei is now running as fast as he can from the Skaven, who is playing the angriest game of tag. Run, Alexei. Luckily, those arrows are doing a good bit of damage, and he is singularly focused on chasing and not dodging. Hopefully he retreats. Beautiful. Turned and decided the axemen behind him were the better course of action. Probably to his death. They did get a nice hammer and anvil on us, but immediately turned and ran, so was a bit wasted. Could have been a scary time for those axemen there being fully surrounded, but we have the Lord Admiral and all those arrows to help out. He's gonna plant those feet, get into triple threat position, and start chopping. Only 1 rat falls, which is a bit sad. You need to get to work a bit faster than that, dude. You need to swing faster than they are. Right now, you're at a 1 chop to about 400 ratio. Clan rats are doing the shimmy. Some of them are no longer shimmying. They didn't quite shimmy well enough. We've got some slings plinking away into our own units now. Kislevites having their worlds rocked. Possibly permanently. I guess some of these lads are throwing little knives and shivs and throwing stars and the like, whatever they can find from the nearby cabinets. Letting it fly. Dealing a good deal of damage. Not sure what our sons are firing back at. They're doing a lot of missing. But on the other end, luckily, our lads are obliterating the line. Poison Wing Globes are starting to get a volley, though. And the Poison Wing Globes get another volley, and you can see the amount of damage they get each time. That first one was pretty weak. I think they missed most of our units. It seems like in radius, they don't have as big of a explosion radius either. In the main game, those Poison Wing Globes can absolutely obliterate a line. Use them if you have them. Those reserve lines are coming on across, and we have not quite retreated, or I guess routed off the Poison Wing Globes. We're still doing pretty serious damage to our line there. Kossars are not rated for biohazards. We need some cavalry ASAP to help us shut down a lot of the enemy missiles. Although a withering salvo of our own is pretty good at shutting down missiles.
We are doomed.
Doomed you are indeed. Doomed to become a pincushion. We'll slow things on down, take a quick look across the whole battle lines here. We'll zoom through. See the look of grit, the death, savagery. Some of these axes are, I guess, order versions of our chaosy brethren. Those that have fallen. Which would make sense. This poor lad over here is lost. You're getting all sorts of... Oleg there took a throwing star to the side of the head. Hate to see it. Yeah. All of the reasons we need cavalry all at once. Got the whole army rotating. We need to get some arrows firing in on their skirmishers, but I had everyone focusing on the poison wing globes. Nothing mattered more, because look at that damage. We don't know what's in those globes, but it is noxious. It is a absolute back and forth here, though. The unit of ours has been wiped out to a man. They fought well. And they will be remembered. Got some Night Runners still working their way through. I'm not really sure. They're doing a really slow shuffle now. We're just going to charge and engage them so they're not able to throw those stars any further. That could have been what their plan was as well, but I'm not sure. They just kind of are shuffling forward like zombies. Clan Ferric has imbibed far too much metal in their water. A duel between their warlord and our Lord Admiral. He's doing the gun axe goodness. Sadly, that didn't actually sync up. That's an awesome animation. Looks a little bit janky here. He's not as aggressive with it. That was a proper swing. The gun axe animations are amazing. I'm hoping we get more Streltsy style or gun axe style units in the main game. It may not be the most probable weapon for someone to use, but it is awesome. Skaven, the battles are absolutely long. You have to keep routing them off, and they keep coming back because they have very low leadership. They break quick. They are known to come on back. These spearmen, though, are fighting to the last man. Unfortunately, they've been caught. Give that one a kick. Why use your feet? You have a spear. I don't understand sometimes. The enemy is broken, though. Kislevite's victorious once more. Person wished these rats dead, and we have made it so. And Clan Ferric was utterly crushed. We only ended up losing 158 brave sons in battle there. Fighting the Skaven, you will always lose a few to this sneaksy tricksiness. We did shut down those poison wing globadiers, though, thankfully, but we will have most likely a secondary battle against this group. I think instead of pardoning these captives or executing them, we'll go ahead and allow Solyak to provide and give us 17% army replenishment.
That's my last.
And that army goes away. Oh, yeah, they were in March Dance. That's exactly how that would work. Boris's scouts bring news that there is a large army hunkered down within the walls of the Writhing fortress. Red Tsar chooses to set up an ambush in the narrow pass, as the cost in Kislevite blood to take the fortress while occupied by extra defenders would be far too high. A few brave men volunteer to act as bait and draw in the unsuspecting army for a crushing ambush, and the plan is set into motion. Sometime later, the unmistakable clamor of hundreds of heavily armored warriors could be heard swiftly approaching. The moment to spring the ambush was now. And Boris's ambush is successful. We have successfully caught Gulator Blood Eater out unawares, and we will be bringing the fight to them. Let's kind of take a look and see what the chaotic ambush is going to be like. Yes, we're going to have lots of open ground, and they are going to try to spread out as soon as the battle begins. We've got to try to keep them as kind of together as we can, surround and destroy, and then soon we shall have Ursun back on his beloved Erskine to battle. Time for these dogs of chaos to feel the wrath of the Red Tsar. We of course have the Patriarch Boris himself and all of our warbears in the back to deal as much damage to his large targets as we can to rip through all that armor. And there's a bunch of regenerating targets back here, so deal as much damage as we can, as quickly as we can. We've got all of the Zargard and the individual woodsmen with axes kind of hanging out on one side here, while all of our missiles are on the other. You've got the pistoliers up front, since they've got heavily armored and a bit better melee defense, as well as all of the arrows behind them. So we'll be blanketing them from behind while the Zargard slice at them with their scimitars. Should be a excellent battle. The Zargard are also going to give the enemy mage there that miscast chance increase, so once they do impact him there, anytime he does cast, it's going to increase his chance to blow himself up, which we love to see. The Shard Blade is going down on the enemies there. Going to be ripping through them. It gives them a drop to their speed of 40%, as well as some damage per second. We're going to try to surround our warbears with war dogs. An interesting strategy. They'll get a little bit of damage, but it won't pay off in the long run there. We've got Kossar Pistoliers and Marauders clashing. He went for the shield bash, but got caught in the arm with an axe. You hate to see it. We got plenty of arrows and plenty of ammunition. I think we're going to deal with this group quite nicely. We've got the Kurgan Spearmen completely surrounded by a mix of woodsmen and Zargard. And their lord is bogged down in the middle of a huge, hefty chunk of Zargard. They're going to be chunking away at his health and making sure that any kind of magic he casts is going to be incredibly hazardous to his own health. While the Kurgan are a deadly unit against the Zargard, they're going to have a problem. Speed things back on up, and we have a unit of woodsmen moving on over to engage. Get a pincer style attack on with the armored Kossars on the other end there. We've got the Wrath of Winter drop down just to lower the leadership on those hounds and get them retreating on away, and any trolls as well, since they've got such low leadership. They will replenish their health up back while they run, but that is entirely fine because we can just rout them off again. And they are known for breaking before the battle's over, and long before they run out of health too. Next, the Warbear Riders need to rip into these spawn here. A task I think they will find quite easy. And they'll be able to be topped off with health due to our Patriarch and his Prayer of Solyak. Over on the main line, a lot of the enemy forces that were retreating are going to be doing so going through our line, disrupting things a bit there. The dual axe jumping slice right to the back of the dome. That guy is lucky to be alive. That's got +7 armor piercing. I don't know. I was going to think of something on the fly and it didn't quite work. Got another Soul Blight dropping down, or I guess that's a Spear Leech. Didn't look like he miscast that time, but that's fine. His hardened main line is already bloodied. A lot of them are laying on the ground. We have a bit of spell resistance ourselves, so we'll be shrugging off a bit of that on those Zargard there. Over on the other end, most of the enemy is turning and running for their lives. We will want to keep an eye on those Warhounds, though. As they stream through, they'll just charge in on behind and deal pretty nasty damage. But we're using our axes now to roll this whole line, keep hitting people on the flank as we go on down. And the Red Tsar is finishing off the last of the squidgy boys in the back. The bears have completely routed off all of the Chaos Warhounds, the Ursun's Fist giving them chase. While Boris's Revenge ripped through these Marauders here. Easily chase them off, so we're going to send them after the Trolls next. As the Marauders are caught between a sandwich of pistol shot and axes. They're going to gain the aspect of the Dread Knight, which is going to give them magical attack, but they're going to turn and run, so a wasted spell. The white flag goes up across the board. The enemy falls. We come away from that battle with only 141 losses, most of that going to our woodsmen who were there in the thick of the main fighting there. 13 devotion generated, 1,500 to our treasury, and 3,700 experience for Boris, taking him up to tier 10. What's his 9? Oh, I think there's a bit of a funkiness there. I think he's tier 10. We'll see in a moment. We also managed to steal the Scroll of Aramar, which is a scroll describing a dread spell that fills the foe's minds with images of their own worst nightmares. It doesn't sound so Kislevite, but we'll be happy to use it. It gives negative 16 leadership to whoever we desire, as well as dropping their vigor. I think we will go for the Salyak provides, just to keep our drive into the Chaos Wastes safe. With this amount of soldiers here, and we can max it on out, and that way we can continue our drive unabated. And the turn is again ours, and we have many decisions to make here. So let's swing on into Boris first. We'll grab our next technology and decide on our next course of Ice Court training. So for Boris, we've got 2 skills here, and I think we'll go for the As One with Ursun, and then which does actually drop his leadership by 8, but also drops enemy leadership by 8. And then we'll go for the On the March, which drops vigor loss reduction by 20% for the entire army. And then after this, we will start working on saving, because Stout-Hearted is going to unlock on rank 12. If we save 2 there, all the way up to rank 12, it'll be up to 4 skill points that we'll have available, so we should be able to pretty much unlock everything that we want, all the way up to Elemental's Regeneration, which we don't have any Elemental Bears just yet, but once we do, it will be time. We also unlocked the quest for the Armor of Ursun, which is going to be quite excellent. Let's go ahead and swing on back down to see what that quest was going to be. It was in the objectives. All we needed to do was occupy, loot, raise, or sack 3 different settlements. I think with Boris himself, and that will give us the armor just as is, which gives the following bonuses. Pretty solid. You don't really have to do all that much to do it, just play the game. Or you there, Urkalisk, we would like probably to give you a bit more health. Although more damage is nice too. We do appreciate more damage. He's up to 540 weapon strength. Let's swing on into the Writhing Fortress then. It'll give us a Pyrrhic victory. Here's what we shall do. Since we don't take any attrition from being out beyond the walls, we'll make this a proper siege. Let's build up some walls, or some towers here. 1 set of towers. Maybe we want multiple. 3 turns to set up our siege equipment. We game this, we get it done faster. No, it's going to take 3 turns no matter what. Okay, in that case, I prefer the towers first, the ram last, because Boris here should be decent at getting through the walls. He doesn't count as a siege. Yeah, there it is. He is still a siege attacker, so the ram is the least important. We'll continue the siege. Try to wait them out. Over for our technology. I was tempted to go for pirate weapons just to give plus 10% range to all of our Kislev units, because it just seems like that is going to be very good to grab off the rip here. More range and more damage just for all of our missiles. Seems really solid. Then we can come back on over here and start grabbing some of these more passive bonuses, like more movement range and maybe even our first Ice Witch Lord.
To shield Kislev against chaos.
Perfect. Then we have a decision for the Ice Witch here. Her name will be changed as soon as she's out. We just can't change it to start. The Frost Moon's Boon. The Frost Moon is when Mansleep rises high above its evil twin. Mark such a benign event, the Ice Court bestows an arcane gift upon a few of Kislev's warriors. But should the boon go to cavalry or infantry? The maiden must decide. We'll have more weapon strength for the infantry or more charge bonus for cavalry. I plan on having her with Boris. So I think that she shall upgrade the cavalry, since that will work for the Bear Brothers as well, I believe. If we're wrong, it's going to hurt us in the long run, but if not, extra strong Bear Brothers. The Everchosen of Chaos has been spotted, and his army is vast and immensely powerful. Borodan's letter had arrived at the same time as a messenger from the Citadel of the Bear had burst into the Tsar's tent. The Pathfinders scouting the lands to the north of the Citadel had witnessed a quick and brutal clash between two armies of the Dark Gods. Leading the overwhelmingly more powerful force was a winged demon prince who bore no marks or mutations to one specific god. The Pathfinders did not stay to gather information, and quickly fled back south to the relative safety of our walls. Hearing of this dual threat, Czar orders that the attack on the Writhing Fortress commence immediately. They must quickly break this stronghold and move to reinforce their people, as Borodan's letter made no mention of glory or victory, only of delaying the Everchosen to give Kislev more time to prepare. Alright, comrades, let's get to bringing down these walls for Ursun. I have the Warbear Riders as well as Boris and the Patriarch off to one side. All of my axemen are just kind of screened to see if there's any arrows. They unfortunately would be the targets to all of the arrows. We have our lovely Kislevite battle towers, which Kislevites, or I guess Kislev is so gangster, they put the front name on, or the name on the front of the front and the back of their war towers. That way you know exactly who's coming to kick your teeth in. We've got all of the armored Kossars rolling in behind them. I have the Zargard in the towers because once they crash into the walls, any of those Kurgan hunters will be swept aside pretty quickly. We've got one unit of Zargard waiting down in the wings to help support the Kossars, but they will all be up front to just fire missiles over the walls and be an absolute nuisance. Let's get the battle going. The Warbears are charging on in. Cannot wait till Boris is off of this horse and on Erskine. Same with our Patriarch. Kislevites and all of their heroes have pretty low armor and melee capabilities, so once they become a bear rider, they become so much more capable. It's almost needed. Ib and Cathay really struggle with their overall heroes. Warbears are in. The only one who's really going to do much damage to these gates is going to be Boris, but we want everyone to kind of pile around so they don't get shot by the towers. The hunters are up front, ready to take any damage that may be coming their way, and the towers are rolling on forward. I don't really know what the point of... I guess covering it with damp furs would keep it from catching on fire if someone was to shoot fire arrows at it. Answered my own question. What are you waiting for, lads? Nothing. Let's get those arrows flying. Whole bunch of enemies to fire upon. Let's get the soft targets. I'm going to be focusing, if I can, on the hounds and these trolls. I guess these spearmen here. But the hounds and the trolls are going to be the units that we can weaken the easiest with those arrows. Trolls will regenerate, but it'll at least lower that overall regeneration cap. The gates are coming down slowly. And all of the Kurgan are just kind of swarming around. They know not that death is upon them. You can smell it. You can smell bears. There's a whole bunch of them. Just the initial skirmishes are taking place now, probing the defenses, throwing arrows over where we can. Not doing a ton of damage, but a few of the Kurgan are laying wounded or dying. The Zargard have crashed into the wall over here, though. Those scimitars are whirling. They are fighting probably the scariest unit for them, though, with the great axes. So I decided to send them up some reinforcements, since they are... That is probably the worst unit for them. We don't want to take them to take too much damage. They're doing quite well now, though, and the other side has completely fully deployed, and they will be able to get in behind here and start attacking in on their flank. Got the dual axes are the ones that have engaged. Short of stature, but they've got two axes, so double the damage. Pretty sure that's how that works. Boris has yet to been given the order to charge on in. I was kind of waiting to see if they would maneuver their soldiers around at all before charging Boris and the bears in, which they are doing a lot of readjusting to what our attack plan is. Got all of the arrows firing as much as they can. They're going to be focusing on these Kurgan hunters here since they are going to have their backs fully exposed. For a moment while the Zargard charge on in and rip them to pieces. Screams of terror is not what you expect from the Slaves of Chaos, but it tends to happen sometimes. Fear is what it is. The Warbears have finally been given the order, charging on in behind Boris. Several Axemen rolling in as well. They've got a lot of men to smash through, and several of them spearmen.
I lust in the Dark Prince's name.
Good for you, buddy. Should be your last day, though. Spears or no spears. We've got axes and bears working together to chop right through you. They're doing just that. Battering the Norskins aside. Die, Ursonite fools. It's too late for you. Any on the walls are easy pickings for our arrows. They do have a bit of armor being the Kurgan, but it is still light. Even though it looks like quite a bit chunky plate armor there, it is definitely not. They are sitting at a total of 42 armor, which is almost on par with our Kossars. My man got stabbed in the neck. You want to try to avoid that in battle. Absolute slog on the walls. Mostly Kurgan lie crippled. We aren't even worried about taking this other side. What I'm going to do with the Axes of Erengrad and our other armored Kossar pistols is bring them down and let them start firing in and kind of slowly pushing our way up, blasting anything that decides to come over and mess with them. Over with the Patriarch and Boris. A bear falls, sadly. They will pay for that one. Not a great situation. We want to try to pull the bears out and charge them in, ideally. In the cramped city streets, it's just kind of a slugging match, which the bears are very good at. Receiving some heals now from the Patriarch. And the Shard Blade ripping through them. That damage is going to be incredibly useful, and there's a lot of units stacked up around Boris. That's going to be awesome. The fight on the wall is slowly drawing to a close with their more elite units falling. And then it'll just be the spearmen holding there, and that will be as of no consequence.
This was not meant to be. The motherland goes to war. For the blessed motherland.
We will have this town claimed in no time. Not a lot of arrows have been expended on our side either, just because the enemy has done a good job of wandering around. A whole bunch of troops moving on over to fire arrows over the top. Shoot at any of the trolls and cavalry that they're able to. Boris is getting bogged down quite badly over here, and we definitely needed the support. More than our Zargard did. Another Wrath of Winter coming down, dropping leadership and vigor. Doing everything we can here. Every single Kurgan slain, 3 more take their place. Oh, he's over there talking about taking food. They're here to take your lives. Oh, maybe they're talking about the Kossars. I understand now. That's pretty brutal there, Boris. One of the Warbears has been caught in an isolation island there. Hopefully he can survive. Looks like only one of the bears has fallen so far, but we have a lot of enemies to work through here. Some slow-mo shots of the battle. A ton of chaos-infused blades and gigantic polearms there. And the Kislevites just look so small in comparison. Pretty imposing issue there. They're like, what, 8-9 foot tall in comparison? Give him the chop. Oh, I wanted to see the dude fall, but no, he's going to stand firm. Boris is going to continue to fight there. We've got all of our confused archers ready to lend their aid. They've not been the most useful this battle. The Zargard are unfortunately dealing with the trolls here. Really not a battle they want. Need to get some pistol fire in there as soon as we can. But they are too close, and when we give the fire order, they just kind of walk into melee range. Issues with skirmish infantry I tend to run into. Men on the wall do endure, but the absolute carnage left in the wake. Many of the Brotherhood lay slain. But many more of Chaos. It's real sad that our archers have been so useless. You all are getting a firm smack on the bottom from Ursun for this. We are claiming points though. That's going to give us a bit of momentum, giving us more, I believe it's more leadership and melee attack. Not by a lot, but it does help. And the ability to actually regenerate vigor is incredibly useful. All of our battles are absolute blob fights. I cannot wait until we have our first Ice Witch. We got his head batted clean off. It is now being used as a soccer ball. It's like Kislevites are being battered aside almost more than the enemy there by our bears, but they continue to rip through the enemy. As, actually, it looks like that's the white flag. They have lost too many. I was ready to keep watching more fighting. Fair enough. Boris's followers win. Just an absolute bloodbath. Only one of our bears fell in combat, though. That was quite amazing. The Patriarch really lending his aid there with his heals. Pretty much the best ability you could get for them, hands down. And yet another victory in Ursun's name. The Warhost of the Apocalypse proved weak once more. A marvelous siege. Gained a good deal of experience. We actually need to sack this settlement for a quest we have, so we'll take the 4,000. Hopefully we have just enough movement to actually get back in, and Ursun once again is joining us for the fight, which makes bringing down Boris now just almost an impossible task for our enemies. Evil does never prosper. We gained a good deal of gold from sacking the Writhing Fortress, and we should turn around and go ahead and purge this land. Sorry about that, Archaon. That should very much hamper his efforts as the Chaos Lord he is. We have ourselves a new capital settlement as well now, so let's go ahead and start adding some goodies in where they can be. So I think we want to go ahead and throw in a bit of the Oblast Hollow over here. We actually don't have any cavalry, and I think getting some in the global pool will be very nice. So let's go ahead and throw in an Oblast Hollow here, and then we'll also throw in... Oh, you know what? We really just want growth, as much growth as we can. So we'll do the roadhouse as well as a farmstead. This will be a proper town. We'll swing on into Boris's skill points there. We're up to almost rank 12, so we'll go ahead and keep saving, since we did go ahead and gain Erskine. This is our homeland, is also one we really want to go for pretty quickly, so gaining all that extra physical resistance can be really good, only really against fighting the Warriors of Chaos, because a lot of their armor, or their weapon strength, is not going to be magical. As soon as you run into anyone with magical attacks, which most of the demons do have, you're going to have some problems. We'll go ahead and grab the last points in Urkalisk's passives here for Replenish Troops and Cleanse Corruption. We can start making his power in combat even better there. Boris's points we are going to save. And then with our extra gold here, we'll go ahead and upgrade the Citadel of the Bear up to a town, giving us access to recruiting the Kislevite City Watch, as well as the ones with spears, which will just be an upgraded version of our woodsmen, more or less. I think at Urksgarad, we will go ahead and throw in the brine mining pans, just so we have access to some things to start trading with. And then we can upgrade the merchant traders here at the Citadel of the Bear as well. We will be very low on gold, but these are going to be some excellent upgrades to the town, or the overall faction. Help us out quite a bit. Looks like the Everchosen is not going to fall for our ambush strat. Yeah, I kind of didn't think he would, but we will see if we can make that work. The turn is again ours, and Boris gained just enough skills in between that we can go ahead and start going down his excellent unique line here. So we have Stout-Hearted giving him 10% more hit points and a bit more leadership to kind of counteract what is lost for as one with Ursun. Over here with Fearless Fighter, Brother of Bears, Band of Brutes, and the Great Reclaimer. We're definitely going for Great Reclaimer first. I think the next one is going to go for Fearless Fighter for himself to drop off any abilities for psychology to hurt him and giving him a bonus V large of plus 25 to go with whatever Ursun should be already giving him, Erskine rather. And then for the last point there, Band of Brutes gives our Zargard a bit more strength or more power for our Warbear Riders. I mean, both of these are amazing. Let's go for this one because it has a dual purpose of leadership and strength, and then we'll just grab this one next. We'll hang off on elemental regeneration until we actually have some elemental bears, but then we can start working on his red line. I'd like to just go for creatures of the land right away, get those Warbear Riders as maximized as possible, and then they will be living tanks. So for you, good sir, since we are still at war with the Cool, claiming the Bleeding Spire would finish them off, we'll go ahead and bring Ursus down.
Onward, proud
Keep him in
men.
friendly territory. We may go ahead and jump into a stance if we have just enough movement. We don't actually need any magic. We could do the ambush thing and see if there's anyone nearby. I'd like to just jump in ambush if we don't know what's ahead. It kind of lures the enemy in on you. The plan for Archaon here. Archaon's going to be a raid boss. It's got 606 weapon strength and all of the additional magic he has.
A boyar for life.
Skull of Katam is going to be hurting himself, which is very nice. Does he have barrier yet? Him not having barrier is very key. 13% resistance, 23% ward save. He is going to be, already a raid boss. So the plan with this battle, with Moradin here, is we're going to do as much damage to him as we can, and then try to retreat to Morozov's Grove if we're not able to defeat them. Let's bring the battle to him. In raiding stance, does he take any penalties? He's got an active vigor. And that's it. Fair enough.
Bow to me.
Bring him down.
Cut them down.
It says it'll be a close defeat. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a pretty rough battle here. We're going to want to play this one incredibly smart. He is already on Dorger, so he's going to be a monster. He's going to zoom around pretty quickly. Does he have any of his metal spells to keep zooming back and forth? He has Searing Doom and the Burning Head. Burning Head is going to be perfect against all of our very lightly armored Kossar units. All right then, lads. It's time you halt the Everchosen, or die trying. Not a battle I'm sure any of the lads here are ready for or looking forward to, but we have no choice. Archaon approaches and we have to slow him down at all costs. You can kind of see our setup we have going here. We've just got the troops spread out. I want everyone to be firing away at anyone who is in melee. I really, really want to try to draw his speedy units over on their own. Our biggest issue here, besides the raid boss that is Archaon, you can just kind of look at his laundry list of skills. He is not only a mage, but one of the best melee fighters. I don't know if he actually wins in a straight-up fight with Scarbrand. I will have to do the test, but he almost does. So he's got 660 strength, 94 attack, 85 damage, or 85 defense rather, 110 charge bonus, and then he's got the Skull of Katam, giving him even more spell mastery by 40%. Slayer of Kings, which you all know is Slayer of Kings. He's got some Searing Doom, some Burning Head. He's got everything he needs to rip us to pieces. And he's also got a Hell Cannon. We've got all sorts of high-value targets to deal with. The one I was going to focus on the most here was going to be these Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, which, honestly, they look incredible, but their blue lightsabers are going to be cleaving through our lads with a vengeance. The other easy units for us to get rid of, if we are careful and can focus, are going to be the Trolls here with their very low leadership. These are the armored variant, so a little harder to scare off, especially for our low armor piercing Kossars. As well as these also incredibly lowly armored Spawn of Nurgle. Since they are with Archaon, they do have one buff of the ward save, 5%. That's going to be across his entire army. It's going to be a big issue. And the Cloud of Flies, in melee, they're going to have a bit more defense. But besides that, this has a very low armor, so we're going to want to focus all of our arrows on them once they get close. Whole bunch of nasties headed our way. Let's see how well we can perform. We're also using this great big volcano here as a wall for their artillery piece. We don't have any speedy units ourselves, which is really unfortunate. Just a single unit of cavalry probably could have changed this battle incredibly. I'm not going to spoil the end here, but the outcome definitely could have been changed vastly by a single unit of fast movers. Bored and preparing. There really is no preparing for what's coming. We have but Kossars against an army of nightmares. They're ready. No one's shouting. They see what's coming over the horizon. It is a Chaos Knights. Those Chaos Knights are going to have a bonus versus infantry and a bit of a barrier, so they will shrug off some damage. All of the unfortunate. Bring them in range for the arrows. And as soon as they are in range, we will loose. You can see that they are kind of split up. I did not see these units over here. They're actually hidden, as you can see on the map. Anything that's inside the dark spot, it's stuff that I can't currently see. Arrows are being let fly. Not a lot of damage going out to those horsemen just because that ward save is shrugging some off. We've slowed down the knights as much as we can. All arrows are now focused on them instead. But as soon as the knights do get into combat, they are going to start ripping through our infantry. Several fall to javelins. Some metal spells dropping down from the Everchosen. No time to react. At least I didn't. Not in time. They don't take as much damage as they could, but several are going to lie bleeding. And then a burning head, I believe, is what's coming down next. I was going to mix up with the Phenomenal Pendulum, but yes, indeed. Archaon just dropping spells. Truly. One of magical prowess. We'll slow things down as the burning skull rips through our line. Sending several screaming to Solyak's embrace. Bit of a delayed reaction there, but they definitely felt the burn. We'll swing on back over and have the Hellstriders coming on over. I decided they were also a high-value target, so any of the archers that were available on the other side have switched their targeting over to start blasting at these, I guess, salacious monsters. I was going to say seductive, but there's nothing seductive about mismatched horns. Crab claws, you can get away with those in some places. They're going to charge on in, though, and probably disrupt this line quite a bit. Actually, a pretty lackluster charge from those Hellstriders. Oh, and then, I don't know, it was a bit of a delayed charge then. Blast them back after the initial. Hounds get held up as well. Anyone in melee charging on in. Trying to keep our arrows firing as long as they can. Over on the other side with Borden, though, we are being absolutely blasted with spells. Routed off a couple of their fast movers, but those are definitely not their actual units. Those are more of just a distraction while Archaon does what he does. Chaos Knights have been greatly wounded. More metal spells dropping down, doing a ton of damage to our woodsmen there. Also weakening the Chaos Knights. Got several teams of archers moving forward. I'm not sure why they were moving up. They may have been having issues firing because of the way they were obstructed. When you don't notice it, it hurts the battle quite a bit. Oh, javelins clattering off of Borden's face. Another volley as well. You guys want to probably do some responding to that. Taking fire indeed. The other side is injured gravely. And they do have their artillery piece continuing to blast away. Magic is just flying away over there on the other side. The Hounds again run away, but they are so good at just coming on back and disrupting an entire line. The Hell Cannon smashes into that square. Another incredible burning head going down from Archaon. Destroying mostly only Kislevites there. Hitting a couple of his own. Even bouncing back and ripping through another one of my lines. Did it just activate itself again? Interesting. I was actually wondering about that in the battle. I thought it had, there's no way it was still going. It activated itself again at some point later on. Unless I'm completely crazy and that was just a bit of a lag. We've got everyone we can still firing on Archaon. Sadly, the Chaos Knights are only down to 9 models. They soaked up a lot of our damage for a really long time. As you can see, there is a ton of enemies still to work through. A lot of muscle, a lot of metal. And all of it filled with rage. More and more molten metal ripping through my lines. That one actually did more damage to their own, but any of ours that we lose at this point is too many. At this point, I thought about sending a unit over to attack their artillery piece, and I had thought about it several times during the battle, but I just made other decisions. We should have attacked that artillery really early on and eliminated it. This was a tough one, though. Archaon's got himself a death blob on the other side. We just keep charging in the Patriarch and Borodin, trying to get as much damage as we can. More metal spells crashing down. Shards ripping through the line. At this point, we have definitely lost momentum and any kind of hope of actually winning. We're trying to get as much damage in as we can. Archaon thankfully gets another miscast off. The more chances he has to blow himself up, the better. But he is still doing incredible damage for the trade-off. That artillery piece misses just by a little bit, but just because they're already more or less dead. Archer line getting finished off as well. Spawn belly flops in. Archaon's units also have incredible amounts of leadership. The normal units that would rout or dissipate away with lesser lords stick in and fight for much longer. Glorious death, he says. Alexei needs to run. He's been given himself another... He did not... What is this nonsense? He did not die in this battle. That's not true. So we're gonna have to ignore that. Alexei did not fall here. He was able to escape. Ignore that. Oh well. Sometimes the, this is the first time it's actually effective, but sometimes the replays do not quite actually match up. It's usually in the case where if a unit is just taking a little bit too much damage or he dodges an attack once, one attack from Archaon changes the entire course of your survival. But I will inform you that Alexei survived. For anyone who doesn't know how the replays work, they're not actual recorded replays. They are, the AI is given your exact orders. It records when you're given your orders, and it will try to replay them at the exact point. Normally, it's almost spot on. There are very few occasions, kind of like that with Alexei, where if you have a really high damage lord like Archaon, we'll cut the explaining and we'll end the battle here. Defeat, sadly. Borodin and Alexei limped back to Mazarov's Grove with the few survivors that managed to escape when retreat was called. Many among them gravely wounded. Borodin breaking 4 ribs and receiving a nasty cut where he just barely managed to deflect the Slayer of Kings. And Alexei was doing his best to ignore the blood flowing freely from a wicked gash in his leg. The Lord Admiral gave no speeches, but simply gave the people a choice. Stay and die as heroes for the motherland, facing down the murderous hordes of the Everchosen. Or flee with the weak and sick north to the Temple of Ursun. He then turned and began helping his Kossars putting up makeshift defenses around the town. They would make their last stand here. And after our defeat, Borodin has some skills to use. After him and his 2 Kossars were the only survivors there, we will go ahead and give him... It's kind of a tough call. I think we're going to want just the additional Monster Hunter, since Archaon does count as a large unit on Dorger. Any extra help we can get bringing him down is something we're going to need. I'm going to give him all 3 points into Impassioned, keep him more defensive in battle. And then I will also pass out the Soothsaying ability to make his leadership size a bit larger there. And then we'll hand him the Sword of Swift Slaying as well. We also have another decision for our Ice Court training. So a Maiden of the Ice Court is an envoy of the Tsarina, sent across the realm to serve Katarin's interests. She's also expected to stand on the battlefield, bolstering the warriors of Kislev with her magic. Where should she focus her talents? She shall be a battle. Obviously, so now we've got Unbreakable, Cavalry focused, and a Magical Warrior. And there shall be no rest for the weary. Archaon has pursued Borodin to Mazarov's Grove to finish the deed. Our only surviving grace here being that the forces are incredibly weakened, so it'll just take a few arrows to send each of these guys off. Archaon also being over half killed is incredibly useful because he always will overcast spells when he can, and he will use his Skull of Catan when he can as well. So he is going to be doing a lot of self-damage, and I think that's going to actually be how we bring down Archaon. This Hell Cannon is going to be an absolute nightmare, as well as the Trolls and the Spawn of Nurgle, so no matter what here, this is going to be a very, very tough one. Let's get to defending Kislev. Clouds darken our horizon as the Everchosen reaches Mazarov's Grove. Our defenders are already beleaguered and pretty wounded, but at least the town garrison is fresh and ready to go. They have, however, not been able to see the true horrors of chaos, so hopefully we can rout off a few of these units and break just enough that we only have to be dealing with the Everchosen, and then the battle becomes quite a bit easier. Not easy by any means, because the Everchosen is a raid boss, but a bit easier. They're going to charge on forward. Our strategy is just to delay as much as we can and get as much damage on those softer targets that we've already weakened, all of the cavalry, all of the Jav Cav, all of the Warhounds, and the Spawn. They're going to charge on in. They have been given orders. Had to decide the best course of action. We could not actually see any of the enemy. As said in the previous one, the only people we can see are the ones that are in the highlighted area. That is the extent of our vision. But we are fighting in the blind here, where Archaon is probably not. We've even got the Lord. I realize this is the Lord here. Mistakenly sent the Lord out on the wing. You kind of always want to keep them more central so they can spread that leadership buff to more units. Didn't have a lot of options with our melee infantry though, just so options were very, very limited. Did what we could. The Everchosen is being incredibly his passive is the word. He's being really thinking about his decision before going around this mountain. He's hiding everyone he can behind the mountain, and he's going to send them all over one at a time, looks like. Dropping down a Spirit Leech on some of our Kossars. We need to be very careful with our Lord and Heroes. Neither one of them can take a single Spirit Leech from Archaon. The men are going to cheer, but Archaon is going to continue to cower behind the mountain here. Come on there, Everchosen. Bring thyself. The first volley is away, blasting apart one of our lines. Several men. Never to rise again. If you want to dodge the Hell Cannon, you kind of have to go directly towards them. I tried to pull away from them. This only worked because they were already disrupted, and one of them still got hit. But if you want to dodge, you could charge right at them, and it'll fly right over the top of your unit. Otherwise, you're going to get a heat missile sandwich. Really doesn't like that Kossar unit, blasting it with both an overcast metal spell as well as a Spirit Leech. We just delete one of the units of Javcav right off the start. Only one of them remaining. We're really just waiting for those Spawn to get in range. They are not quite in range of everyone, and I don't want to give them all the attack order. As soon as they are, all missiles will be focused on the Spawn. And we really need to try to keep as many of our missiles firing as we can for as long as we can. In a fight, our Kossars will quickly blend away. Scare off the Hounds, and now they get to work on the Chaos Warriors. with enough armor piercing between the two of them that they should make quick work of this unit. And they have been bolstered by our Patriarch. Alexi's now going to charge back over to try to help out with the incoming Hellstriders. More metal spells flying on down to delete our blocked up Kossar Spearmen there. Warriors are beginning to flee. And a Spirit Leech drops down on Alexi, who has nowhere to run. And his soul is drained from his body. An unfortunate fall for a hero of Kislev. Not a good picture for the Kislevites. Still picking our targets, trying to eliminate these spawns. We don't have to deal with them going forward. He is unable to replenish his, really any of these more elite units, since he is no longer fielding a Dark Fortress. I don't think he's going to be able to gain enough of his overall research to actually gain any of the marked units just yet. Everchosen firing on in, or not the Everchosen, this is Immortal. Need to charge on in and eliminate these Hellstriders for good. Only 2 of them remain, and they are still charging on in and wreaking havoc. 2 spawn also remain as the Everchosen ping-pongs around and just blows up whole lines of Kossars. Burning Head thankfully goes the wrong direction. That unit is pretty well gone. We've got Borden standing his ground, firing the rifle into the Everchosen. Axe ready. Gives Dorger a chop. But the damage coming out from the Everchosen is going to be far too much. We'll watch the battle though. Archaon is low health. It's an up-close shot in. Some more metal spells are going to rip through the line. And the Kurgan warriors there are joining the battle. Aeon has just the smallest sliver of health, 160. He's got so much ward save. He does manage to get some Kurgan in between him and Borden as well. And that space is all he's really going to need. Continuing to cast spells though, which is incredibly dangerous. We are pretty much just down to the Lord Admiral. Everyone else has gone to the hills. And Borden falls. Never to rise again. The only remaining soldiers being these Kossars and the lads that are over there fighting. Would have been really nice to have these soldiers for the rest of it, but they got caught up fighting these Chaos Warriors the entire battle. Archaon actually explodes himself. Dorker hit the brakes there pretty hard. Trying to cast some more metal spells. Archaon falls. Borden falls. Heroes of both sides never to rise. Well, Archaon will be back. We've got to quickly move to crush the rest of his empire. An absolutely brutal defeat, but we fought as hard as we could, and even though we didn't really kill all that many, we managed to bring down a lot of their squishier, more damage-dealing targets. They've got a bunch of their Marauders still left over, but Archaon himself blew himself up there at the end. The Hellstriders fell, and then the Hell Cannon is gone. The Jav Cav, they can recruit up pretty quickly, but it is good to have them out of there so we don't have to deal with it. We may end up having Ursun or Boris come on over and deal with this army instead, since revenge is going to be on the mind, and Archaon needs to be eliminated at post-haste. 2 heroes of Kislev have fallen in defense of the motherland, and the grove burned. The Red Tsar would pay the Everchosen back for every drop of blood spilled to reclaiming these lands. Borden Mozarov and Alexei Ovechkin will be remembered as champions of Ursun. The reclaiming of Mozarov's grove would be Boris's next goal. That's all the time I've got for today. Thank you all so much for stopping by the second chapter in my Boris campaign. I began this as a secondary narrative campaign, thinking I can handle 2 concurrent at once and still have time for family and all my other projects I'm working on for the channel. Boris is going to be pausing after this episode, and I'll be focusing my full attention on Setzer the Imperishable until his campaign is complete. Victory will be us completing the long victory conditions, and I will have a poll up when the narrative portion ends, asking if we want to continue that campaign as a normal Let's Play until we secure that domination victory. But for now, I am out of time. I have been Space Wizard Total War. Remember to leave a like for the Light God and a sub for the Sub Throne, and I will see you on the next one.